session. If I'll see your faces, then I'll know that you're understanding or not. Okay, so that's why. Come on, quickly. Switch on your videos, everyone. Yes, everyone. Come on, quick, quick, quick. Aisha, Arya, Gianna, come on. Abdul, come on, quick, quick.
I turned it on.
Yeah, yours is on. Yes. Okay. All right. So we have discussed about the autotrophic mode of nutrition, right? Now we'll go in depth about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now in this type of nutrition, the organism, it's all right, Arya, even if you're sick, who's going to care? I am the only one who can see you. All right. Yeah. In heterotrophic mode of nutrition, what happens is that the organism cannot make its own food, and it is one way or in another dependent on another organism. Now, when I talk about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, it can be divided into three parts. The first is saprophytic, then there is parasitic, and then decomposing. Now, saprophytic and decomposers are sort of like the same thing only, in which these organisms, they feed upon the dead and decaying organic matter. They digest the dead and decaying organic matter and release the inorganic substances. Okay, now talking about the parasitic mode of nutrition. In this, one organism is a parasite, another organism is a host. Now the parasite will infect the host. It will cause harm to the host because this parasite is actually deriving its nutrition from the host. Now, the parasite can be present on the body of the host, so we'll call it ectoparasite. And when the parasite is present in the body of the host, then we'll call it as endoparasite. Endo means inside and ecto means on the body, like on side, outside, on side. Okay, so now talking about the examples of saprophytic and decomposers. So for saprophytes, we have fungi, fungus. Okay, it is mostly feeding on the dead and decaying organic matter. Then fungus is also a decomposer, and along with that, earthworms. Everyone has seen earthworms, right? Yes. So earthworms, those are also greatest decomposers, and since they decompose so nicely, this is the reason why the earthworms are most commonly known as the farmer's friend. Why a farmer's friend? Because since the earthworm are present in the soil, so what they do is that they decompose whatever stuff, twig, dead stuff that are there in the soil and make more and more nutrients in the soil. This is the reason why the earthworm is said as the farmer's friend. This much is clear?
Yes,
all right. Okay, good. Now talking about the parasite. So when I say endoparasites means that parasite is present inside the body of the host, and that example is virus and worms. Like how when we get sick, like when we get cold, it's usually we say that it's a viral infection, isn't it? We say that viral, right? What is that viral? Viral is coming from the virus, means virus is inside our body, and because of it, we are having certain symptoms. So virus here is an endoparasite. Now, ectoparasite, those parasites that are present on the body of the host, such as leeches. As soon as the leeches attach onto the body, they start sucking blood from our skin. So they are present on the body. Because of this, they are known as ectoparasites. Same goes for lices, hair lices, and also the ticks. Okay, this much is clear?
Yes, miss. Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Now see here. Now, these were the three types of nutrition. Now, apart from that, we will also see certain examples which come under the heterotrophic mode only. Now, like I said that all the plants, mostly the green plants, they are capable of making their own food, right? That is why we put them in the category of autotrophic. Now, there are some plants that cannot make their own food, such as cuscuta. This is the scientific name of a plant that is amarbale, commonly known as amarbale, and this is a parasitic plant. Okay, it is a parasite which is present on the other plants and derives nutrition from the other plants. So Cuscuta, which is commonly known as amarbale, is a parasitic plant. Have you people ever heard about Venus flytrap? The plant that is known as Venus flytrap. Have you heard about it?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? It sort of like looks like this, and whenever a fly or any insect comes and sits here, the flap closes, isn't it? So that is an insectivorous plant. It also cannot synthesize its own food, so it eats insects. Then you might have also heard about pitcher plant, right? Pitcher plant that looks like a jug. That is also an insectivorous plant. So those plants cannot photosynthesize, so they are heterotrophic. Now coming on to the next organism, there is amoeba. Now amoeba is an organism that forms a food vacuole. What it does is that whenever the food comes in its vicinity, meaning whenever the food is near the this thing, the amoeba, what happens is that it draws its false feet, that is known as pseudopodia, and then it's sort of like, for example, if the food is here, it would draw its false feet like this and take the food inside. It forms a food vacuole. Again, since it is not synthesizing its own food, so it is heterotrophic. Coming on to the next example, there is paramecium. Now, paramecium is an organism whose whole body is covered with cilia. Okay, and these cilia is sort of like how bristles of the brush are there, tiny bristles. Just like that, its whole body is surrounded by those bristles, because of which it can procure its food. This much is clear? All right. Now this was in general talk about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now we will discuss about the nutrition in us humans. Now, the type of nutrition which is present in humans is known as holozoic. Holozoic. Our mode of nutrition is holozoic mode of nutrition. Now, what is the meaning of holozoic? In this, we take the food as whole, we put it in our mouth, we digest it, and then we get the energy from it, right? We take the food as whole, we chew it, we digest it, and then we get the energy, and that is the holozoic mode of nutrition. Now, our nutrition, it takes place in 5 major steps. To begin with, the first step is ingestion. Ingestion is wherein we take in the food, right? We put the food in our mouth, we chew it. That is ingestion. Secondly, when the food is swallowed, it goes to the stomach and so on. Then that food gets digested. The digestion of the food is the second step. The third, after the food has been digested, we need the energy from the food, right? So the energy from the food is absorbed by our body, and that is absorption. Now, when that energy has been absorbed, now it has to be transported to different cells, right? Because our body is made up of so many cells and tissues and organs and everything. So each and every of those components of our body requires the energy. So this distribution of energy to the different organs, the different cells and tissues, that is assimilation. Okay, assimilation to distribute. And lastly, the food that has not been digested, the food that is undigested, it gets defecated out of the body, and that by the process of egestion. So there are 5 processes that takes place in the nutrition of us human beings. This much is clear? All right. Now, moving forward, see, for our digestion process, we have a very well defined and a very well developed digestive system. We have a proper digestive system which consists of many digestive glands. Digestive glands are there. Now, what are those digestive glands? We have liver, we have pancreas, and salivary glands. 3 glands are there: liver, pancreas, and salivary glands. Now, liver is commonly known as the largest gland of human body. It is the largest gland of human body. Okay. Then comes pancreas, and then there is salivary glands. Now, the digestive system, like our digestive system, consists of a long tube or a long canal that is known as alimentary canal. It begins from the mouth and ends at the anus. So from the mouth till the anus is the whole entire alimentary canal. Clear? Now, to begin the whole entire process of digestion, what we do, whatever food is there, we take that food, we put it in our mouth. Okay. Now, our mouth is supplied with multiple teeth, and we have a tongue, and saliva is produced in our mouth. Now, as we put the food in our mouth, we start chewing it. Now, why do we chew the food? Why do we chew our food? Why don't we just put it in mouth and just swallow it? Why do we chew it?
To make it into smaller pieces.
To actually, yeah, so that when the food will be present in a smaller size, then it will be easier for the enzymes to act upon it. So we chew our food so as to decrease its size so that it can be easily digested. Now in our mouth, the salivary glands are present, and the salivary glands produce saliva, right? And that saliva contains an enzyme which is known as salivary amylase. The name of the enzyme is salivary amylase. Now, saliva has two functions. The first function that it performs is to wet the food. Because, you know, when we put, for example, bread in our mouth. Now, bread is so dry, right? How will it like pass our food pipe? So as to lubricate the food, saliva is there in our mouth. Second function of saliva is that it contains the enzyme salivary amylase, and this enzyme is very important for the purpose of digestion of carbohydrates. So as soon as we start chewing the food, this salivary amylase starts acting upon our food. And since our food has so many components, right? We have carbohydrates, we have proteins, vitamins, minerals, everything is there in our food because we take a balanced diet mostly, except for the fact when we are eating junk food. But apart from that, we take a balanced diet. Everyone does?
Yes.
Or is it junk food all the way? No, I wish it was like that. I wish junk foods were healthy, but it's not anyway. So let's just consider a proper balanced diet. So a proper balanced diet has carbohydrates, it has proteins, vitamins, minerals, roughage, and whatnot. Now the carbohydrate component of the food, it starts getting digested in the mouth by the activity of salivary amylase. And by the time we are done chewing, 30% of the carbohydrates get digested in our mouth. 30%. It's a huge number. Okay. Now, when we have chewed the food enough, then what we do is that we swallow it. And from the mouth or from the buccal cavity, see this whole entire area, the teeth, the tongue, the saliva, the whole entire mouth cavity is the buccal cavity. Okay. Now, when we swallow, then the food goes into the food pipe. Our food pipe is known as the esophagus. Okay. Now, why is the food pipe there? So that from the mouth, the food can be pushed and sent into the stomach. So food pipe connects the mouth to the stomach. Now, how does the food travels down from the mouth to the food pipe and into the stomach? There is a proper movement. See, the food pipe contracts and then relaxes, contracts and relaxes. This type of contraction and relaxation, this is known as peristalsis movement. So what our food pipe or what our esophagus does is that it does the peristalsis movement, because of which the food is pushed down to the stomach. Clear? Now,
Yes.
okay. Now, when the food reaches the stomach, now let's talk about the stomach. So the stomach is a large J-shaped storage structure. The first thing that happens, like initially when we eat, our stomach feels full. After eating, within 1 minute only, do you feel like hungry again, or it takes time?
Takes time.
It takes time. Why? Because initially the stomach stores the food for a while. Clear? Now, after that, the stomach also digest the food. Now, the stomach has three things that are secreted inside it. First is hydrochloric acid, then there is pepsin, and then there is mucus. These three things are secreted by the walls of the stomach. The inner walls of the stomach, they secrete these three things. Let us look at each of their functions. So talking about the hydrochloric acid. Now, hydrochloric acid is a very strong acid. What it does is that, first of all, it creates an acidic medium since it is a very strong acid. Secondly, what it does is that it physically breaks down the food. Okay, so physical breaking down of the food and creating an acidic medium. These are the two functions of HCl, that is hydrochloric acid. Then there is pepsin. Now, pepsin is responsible for digestion of the protein content of our food. The protein which is there, it gets digested by the pepsin. Clear? Now, after that, there is mucus. Now, one question arises in mind that, okay, since, like hydrochloric acid is such a strong acid that even if one drop falls on our skin, like whole entire area would burn. It is such a strong acid. Then why does it not affect us? Like, since hydrochloric acid is present in our stomach, why don't we feel harmed by it?
Because our stomach has this layer which protects our stomach.
There is a layer of mucus. This third thing that is there, the mucus, it is also secreted by the wall of the stomach only. Now, what is the function of the mucus? See, for example, if this is the stomach, so this whole entire area inside the stomach will be protected with the help of mucus. Sort of like it will form a lining so as to protect the walls of the stomach from the activity of the hydrochloric acid. And in this way, the hydrochloric acid only acts on the food and not on the wall of the stomach. Clear? And you know what? Like, sometimes you might have noticed that when we feel hungry and we've been hungry for a little while, our stomach starts paining. A weird sensation happens in the stomach. Why does that happen? That happens because now, since our stomach is empty and has been empty for a while, the hydrochloric acid starts acting on the walls of the stomach. That is why we feel that discomfort and tummy ache that we do. And then when we eat, then it's fine. Okay, so that is fine. Now, after the protein and everything has been digested, now the food from the stomach will be released into the small intestine. Okay, now always remember that since stomach is a different organ, small intestine is a different organ. Okay, now don't write anything right now. I'll give you time to write. So since stomach and intestine are two different organs, there is actually a pathway which connects them. For example, like how in our houses, there are several rooms. Now, when you want to go from one room to another room, you open the door and then you go into it, right? Isn't it? Except for the fact there is no privacy at home and all the doors are open. But mostly what we do, we open the door and then we go inside, right? Same thing happens here only. Since two organs are concerned, right? From the stomach, the food has to go into the small intestine. So it also has to open some kind of door to go inside. Okay, the same phenomenon. What is that door? That door is actually a muscle over here, which is known as a sphincter muscle. Okay, so when the sphincter muscle will open, then only the food from the stomach will go into the small intestine. And then the sphincter muscle closes. Sort of like it is present here. For example, if the stomach ends here and the small intestine starts here, so one muscle will be present here. And when this muscle will allow the food to move into the small intestine, then only the food will move and then it will close. Why will it close? So that the food does not go backwards. Okay, that is why sphincter muscles are so important. Now, small intestine is the largest part of our alimentary canal and it is the site of complete digestion of food. 100% digestion of food happens here. Whatever is left, like everything, like the 70% carbohydrates that were left, the rest of the proteins and fats and everything will get digested here. Now, we know that everyone has seen the diagram, the small intestine sort of looks like this. I mean, better than this, but this is a rough diagram, right? So It looks convoluted, right? Can anybody tell me why is it convoluted? Why is it folded in such a weird way? Hmm? Any idea?
Increase surface area.
100%. So as to increase the surface area. Also, the small intestine is a really long organ. Okay. And us humans, we have an average height, isn't it? Some of us are smaller, some of us are taller, but there is an average height, right? So as to fit this long organ, it has to be folded in, like how in the wardrobe, when we want to fit something in, we fold it and then we put it inside. Same thing happens in our body also. Okay, the small intestine has been folded in such a way so that first of all, it can fit in our body. And secondly, it also increases the surface area for digestion. Clear? Now, see, the length of the small intestine, it would vary from one organism to another. Meaning, for one, it may be longer, for other, it may be smaller. Let's just say for the sake of herbivores, the plant eaters, they would have a longer small intestine because what is their prime food? It's plants, mostly grasses. Now, grasses, they have cellulose present. And cellulose takes a longer period of time to get digested, right? Have you seen cows chewing all day long, right? Why do
Yeah.
they do so? Because the food, once it has been digested, they take it back into their mouth and then they chew it again because it is so hard to digest the cellulose because they eat grasses and hays and everything. So that is why the herbivores would have a longer small intestine. But as compared to the carnivores, since they do not eat cellulose or anything, their major diet is proteinaceous. So they would need a smaller small intestine. Now, small intestine is the site of complete digestion of food, meaning all the carbohydrates, proteins, fats, every single thing will be digested. Now, this small intestine, it receives the secretion from the liver, which is the largest gland of our body, and it also receives the secretion from the pancreas. And liver and the pancreas together are known as the digestive gland. Now we do know that the food that is coming from the stomach, it was in an acidic medium. So the food is acidic for now. So what the pancreatic enzymes will do, it will act on the acidic food and make it alkaline, meaning basic. Okay, now the food is not acidic anymore. Then the secretion from the liver is the bile juice. Okay, now this bile juice, it has no digestive property. It does not digest anything. But what it does is that it emulsifies the fat. Emulsification of fat. What is that? Break down the fat into smaller globules. For example, initially, if the fat is this big, then the bile juice would act on it and make it into several smaller pieces so that it gets digested easier. Clear? Also, the secretion of the liver is bile juice. Okay, the liver produces it, but the bile juice is actually stored in the gallbladder. Remember this thing also. Okay, stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Now, the pancreatic juice from the pancreas, it contains the enzymes such as trypsin. Now, this trypsin is for the digestion of proteins. Then it has lipase enzyme. This lipase enzyme is there for the digestion of that broken fat, the emulsified fats that were acted upon by the bile juice. Now, those small particles of fats will be digested by the lipase enzyme. Apart from all of these, the wall of the small intestine also secretes the enzyme that is known as intestinal juice, which will convert, like it will break the larger molecule into its smaller components. So it will break protein into amino acids. It will break complex carbohydrates into simpler form, that is glucose. And then it will break the fat into fatty acid and glycerol. So now here it is finally being digested or converted into its smaller units. Clear? And since every single component of our food is being digested here, so we'll call small intestine as the site of complete digestion. Apart from this, the whole entire small intestine has tiny finger-like projection that are known as villi. These villi increase the surface area for absorption. After the food has been digested, it has to be absorbed. So these villi are there for the absorption process, and the villi they are richly supplied with blood vessels. Why? Because see, ultimately, whatever energy or substances we have to absorb from the digested food, it has to reach the blood only. Okay, so that is the reason why the villi are richly supplied with blood vessels. So as soon as the digestion process has been done in the small intestine, it gets absorbed by the villi then and there on. Clear? Now, this part is almost over only. Why do we absorb the food? We absorb the digested food to get energy, to build new tissues, and to repair the old tissues, right? For all the bodily functions, we require energy, and that energy comes from the absorption from the digested food. Now the small intestine part is over. Now, even after that, some of the food particle that did not get digested, the undigested food, then will move into this large intestine, wherein the water, the minerals, the vitamins, all of these things will get absorbed. No digestion happens in large intestine. Absorption happens, like whatever water, minerals, and everything is there, that gets absorbed in the large intestine. And lastly, what is left after all the absorption has been done is the waste matter. It is the undigested food, now which we defecate through the anus. And again, that process is egestion. And this exit of the food through the anus, it is also regulated by an anal sphincter. Okay. So with this, we have completed the whole entire process of digestion, right from the beginning, from eating till defecation. Okay, one question. Can you tell me, where does the digestion process start in our digestive system? Where does it begin?
From our mouth.
From our mouth. The digestion starts right from our mouth only, because initially 30% carbohydrates get digested. So we'll say that digestion begins from our mouth. Does anyone have any doubt in the digestion?
No, ma'am.
No,
Sure?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, very good. Now you people can note down. You have to note down from heterotrophic mode of nutrition, isn't it?
Ma'am,
Okay.
ma'am, in the last it says saliva contains an enzyme known as, what is the last word?
Salivary amylase. AMYLASE.
Okay.
Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Done, mom.
Everyone's done till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Done, ma'am.
Everyone's done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Students, you can switch off your camera and write comfortably. Since the class is now over only, now all you have to do is note down. So you can switch off your camera and write comfortably. Just be responsive, that's it.
Ma'am, in the last sentence, what's after acts?
Acts on
Oh, okay.
it to make it alkaline.
Where is bile juice made again?
Bile juice is synthesized by the liver.
Okay.
Yeah, it is stored in the gallbladder.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Ma'am, done.
Everyone's done?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, students, let's just keep it till here only. I'll give you time to write the rest of it in the next class. Okay. It's only a little bit of left. So yeah, did you people have any doubts up till now while noting down?
No,
Mm.
Okay then. All right then, students. I'll meet you in the next